Hello everyone. Welcome back to DreamWave English. I'm Sophia, your host for today. If this is your first time here, I'm really happy you decided to join. Every day we share simple and practical lessons to help you speak English more confidently and naturally. Many learners tell me they want to use advanced words in real conversations, but they often feel these words are too difficult or only for textbooks. That is not true. Today, you will see how easy it is to understand and use advanced vocabulary if you learn step by step, repeat out loud, and connect each word to your real life. So, take a notebook and a pen if you can. Writing things down helps your memory. And don't just listen, try to repeat with me. Speaking out loud will train your mouth and brain together, just like muscles in the gym. Now, let's begin with our first powerful word. The first word is meticulous. Meticulous means very careful, paying attention to every small detail. Imagine someone checking every line of their homework before handing it in. That person is meticulous. Let's practice together. Say it slowly with me, meticulous. Again, meticulous. Now let's try in a sentence. I am meticulous when I prepare for an important meeting. Great. Can you try one more example with your own life? Maybe about your studies or your job. The more personal the example, the easier it is to remember. The second word is versatile. Versatile describes someone or something that can do many different things. For example, English is a versatile language. You can use it for travel, business, education, or even just for fun with movies and songs. Another example, my friend is very versatile. She can cook, paint, and play the piano. Now repeat after me. Versatile. Once more. Versatile. And let's use it in a sentence. I want to be a versatile English speaker. Perfect. You see? Just by saying it out loud, it becomes part of your memory. The third word is inevitable. Inevitable means something that is certain to happen and cannot be avoided. For example, if you practice English every day, improvement is inevitable, or it was inevitable that technology would change the way we communicate. Say it with me, inevitable. Again, inevitable. Now try in a sentence. Making mistakes is inevitable when you learn a new language. That's right. Mistakes will happen. But mistakes are not bad. They are a natural part of learning. Let's pause for a moment. We have learned 3 words already. Meticulous, versatile, inevitable. Think about your own life. Can you make one short paragraph about yourself using all 3 words? For example, I am meticulous when I write my essays. I want to be versatile in English, so I practice reading, speaking, and listening. I know mistakes are inevitable, but I keep going. Excellent. Now let's continue. Another powerful word is resilient. Resilient means able to recover quickly from difficulties. Learning English sometimes feels frustrating. Maybe you feel nervous when speaking, or you forget words. But if you are resilient, you stand up again and keep trying. For example, even after many failures, she remained resilient and continued working toward her goals. Say it with me. Resilient. Again, resilient. Now your turn in a sentence. I am resilient when I face problems at work. Very good. The next word is articulate. Articulate describes someone who can express ideas clearly and effectively. For example, he is an articulate speaker who explains difficult topics in a simple way. You can also say, I want to become more articulate when I speak English. Repeat after me. Articulity. Again. Articulity. Now in a sentence. She is articulate and confident in meetings. Wonderful. Remember, being articulate is not about using big words. It's about explaining your ideas clearly, step by step, so other people can understand. Now let's try another useful word, alleviate. Alleviate means to reduce or make something less severe. For example, taking a short walk can alleviate stress, or learning English with a friend can alleviate the pressure of studying alone. Repeat after me. Alleviate. Once more. Alleviate. Now use it in a sentence. Listening to music alleviates my anxiety. Perfect. Let's practice with a short role play. Imagine you are talking to a friend about learning English. You could say, learning English can sometimes feel stressful, but I try to stay resilient. I also want to be articulate when I share my ideas. Watching fun videos alleviates the stress and keeps me motivated. See how natural it feels when we connect the words to our daily life? This is how you train your brain to remember vocabulary, not just by reading, but by using the words in real, personal situations. Let's add one more advanced word to part 1, proficient. Proficient means skilled or good at something. For example, she is proficient in both English and Spanish. Or, I want to be proficient in using English at work. Say it with me. Proficient. Again, proficient. Now in a sentence. He is proficient in computer programming and English communication. Great job. Before we finish part 1, let's quickly review the words you learned today. Meticulous, versatile, inevitable, resilient, articulate, alleviate, proficient. 7 powerful words. Don't just listen once. Go back, repeat them, and try to write your own sentences. The more personal your sentences are, the more natural these words will become in your English. So here is your small challenge. Write a short story or paragraph about yourself using at least 3 of these words. For example, I am a meticulous student who studies every day. I want to be versatile, so I practice reading, writing, and speaking. I know mistakes are inevitable, but I stay resilient and keep going. Slowly, I am becoming more articulate and proficient in English. That's how fluency grows, not in one day, but step by step, word by word, practice by practice. Great work today. In the next part, we will continue with more advanced words that will make your English sound even more natural and confident. Keep repeating, keep practicing, and don't give up. Your progress is inevitable if you stay consistent. Welcome back. You did an excellent job in part 1. Remember, the goal here is not only to understand new words, but also to practice speaking them out loud and using them in sentences from your own life. This way, the words will stay in your memory and you will feel more confident in real conversations. Let's continue with more advanced and useful words. The first word in part 2 is ambiguous. Ambiguous means something that is not clear or can have more than one meaning. For example, the question was ambiguous, so I wasn't sure how to answer. Another example, sometimes English words are ambiguous because they depend on context. Repeat after me. Ambiguous. Again, ambiguous. Now, let's try it in a sentence. The directions were ambiguous, and I got lost. Great! In daily life, you might face ambiguous rules, ambiguous exam questions, or even ambiguous answers from friends. When you hear this word, think about situations where you are unsure because the meaning is not clear. The next word is empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. For example, good friends show empathy when you are sad, or teachers need empathy to understand their students' struggles. Say it with me. Empathy. Again, empathy. Now use it in a sentence. I try to show empathy when someone is upset. Excellent. Empathy is very important, not only in English learning, but also in life. If you have empathy, you can connect better with people from different cultures. Now let's practice a mini dialogue with these words. Imagine two friends are talking. Friend A: I want to be proficient in English, but sometimes the grammar feels ambiguous. Friend B: Don't worry, being resilient will help you improve. Having a teacher with empathy also alleviates the stress. This short practice shows you how words like ambiguous and empathy can be used naturally in conversation. The next advanced word is contemplate. Contemplate means to think deeply about something, often for a long time. For example, before making a big decision, she likes to contemplate all the possibilities. Or, I often contemplate how to improve my English learning methods. Say it with me. Contemplate. Again, contemplate. Now in a sentence. He sat quietly to contemplate his future. Very good. You can use this word when you want to say you are thinking seriously about something. The next word is diligent. Diligent describes someone who works very hard and puts consistent effort into what they do. For example, she is a diligent student who studies every day. Or, if you are diligent in practicing English, you will definitely improve. Repeat after me, diligent. Again, diligent. Now, let's try in a sentence, I am diligent when I learn new vocabulary. Excellent. Being diligent is one of the most important habits for English learners. even 10 minutes every day is better than 2 hours once a week. The next word is eloquent. Eloquent means speaking or writing in a very clear, persuasive, and powerful way. For example, the professor gave an eloquent speech that inspired the students. Or, I want to become eloquent when I express my opinions in English. Say it with me. Eloquent. Again, eloquent. Now in a sentence, she is eloquent when she speaks about her passion. Wonderful. Eloquent speech doesn't mean complicated speech. It means speaking with clarity, confidence, and feeling. Another useful word is reluctant. Reluctant means unwilling or hesitant to do something. For example, he was reluctant to join the meeting because he wasn't prepared. Or, I sometimes feel reluctant to speak English because I'm afraid of mistakes. Repeat after me. Reluctant. Again, reluctant. Now in a sentence. She was reluctant to try the new food. Great. Many learners feel reluctant to speak at first. But remember, confidence grows only when you try. The next word is scrutinize. Scrutinize means to examine something very carefully, paying attention to detail. For example, the manager scrutinized the report before approving it. Or, when you learn a new word, scrutinize how native speakers use it in different contexts. Say it with me, scrutinize. Again, scrutinize. Now in a sentence. I scrutinize my essays before submitting them. Perfect. Scrutinizing is not only about checking mistakes, it is also about observing carefully and learning small details that make a big difference. Let's combine these words in a small reflection exercise. Imagine you are describing your learning style. You could say, I like to contemplate new ways to study. I stay diligent by practicing every day. I hope to be eloquent when I speak. Sometimes I feel reluctant, but I keep going. I also scrutinize my mistakes carefully so I can improve. See how these words connect to your real life? When you link new vocabulary to personal experience, you will never forget it. Now, let's continue with 2 more advanced words. The first one is persevere. Persevere means to continue trying even when things are very difficult. For example, she had to persevere through many challenges to achieve success. Or, if you persevere in your English practice, you will definitely improve over time. Say it with me. Persevere. Again, persevere. Now in a sentence, I will persevere even when English feels hard. Great job. Perseverance is the secret ingredient for fluency. The second one is candid. Candid means being honest, open, and straightforward. For example, he was candid about his mistakes and wanted to improve. Or, I appreciate candid feedback because it helps me grow. Repeat after me, candid. Again, candid. Now in a sentence. She gave a candid opinion about the project. Excellent. Being candid means you are not hiding the truth. In English learning, it is very useful to be candid about your strengths and weaknesses. Before we finish part 2, let's review the new words you have learned. Ambiguous, empathy, contemplate, diligent, eloquent, reluctant, scrutinize, persevere, candid, 9 more advanced words. Imagine how strong your English will sound when you use these in conversations. Here is your small challenge for today. Write one short story or dialogue that includes at least 4 of these words. For example, I sometimes feel reluctant to speak, but I persevere because I am diligent. I contemplate my goals every night. My teacher is candid with me and shows empathy when I make mistakes. That's it for part 2. Remember, words become real only when you practice them. Speak them, write them, and connect them to your own experiences. In the next part, we will continue with even more powerful words that will make your English sound natural, fluent, and confident. Welcome back again. You are doing an amazing job by staying with me through these lessons. Remember, the more you repeat and the more you practice, the stronger your English will become. Don't just listen passively, open your mouth. Say the words out loud and connect them to your own daily life. That is how learning sticks. Let's continue with our next group of powerful vocabulary words. The first word today is exuberant. Exuberant means full of energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. For example, the children were exuberant after winning the game. Or, she felt exuberant when she finally passed her English exam. Say it with me. Exuberant. Again, exuberant. Now let's try in a sentence. He was exuberant at the party. Excellent. This is a positive word. If you want to describe yourself as full of life and energy, exuberant is the perfect word. The next word is astute. Astute describes someone who is clever and able to notice or understand things quickly. For example, she is an astute businesswoman who makes smart decisions. Or, you must be astute when listening to English speakers so you can catch small details. Repeat after me, astute, again, astute. Now, in a sentence, he gave an astute observation during the discussion. Great. Being astute in English means paying attention to small differences in words, tone, or context. The next advanced word is benevolent. Benevolent means kind, generous, and wanting to help others. For example, he was a benevolent teacher who always cared about his students. Or, speaking kindly to yourself is a benevolent habit when learning English. Say it with me, benevolent. Again, benevolent. Now try it in a sentence. The organization is benevolent and supports poor families. Wonderful. Remember, being benevolent doesn't always mean giving money. It can simply mean offering your time, your kindness, or your encouragement to others. Now let's try concur. Concur means to agree with someone or share the same opinion. For example, I concur with your idea about starting early. Or, most experts concur that practice is the key to fluency. Repeat after me. Concur. Again, concur. Now in a sentence, I concur that daily speaking practice is important. Perfect. This word is often used in professional settings, but you can also use it in casual conversation to sound more natural and advanced. Let's practice these 4 words together in a short mini dialogue. Friend A, I think practicing English for 15 minutes every day can help a lot. Friend B, I concur. That is an astute idea. Only a benevolent teacher would remind students of that, and it makes me feel exuberant to know I'm improving. Did you see how smoothly these words fit into a real conversation? The next word is cynical. Cynical describes someone who often doubts other people's intentions or believes people only act for selfish reasons. For example, he was cynical about politicians. Or, don't be too cynical about your progress. Trust yourself. Say it with me. Cynical. Again, cynical. Now let's try in a sentence. She felt cynical about promises that were never kept. Good job. Sometimes being cautious is okay, but being too cynical can stop you from trusting and growing. Now let's move on to daunting. Daunting means something that seems very difficult or intimidating. For example, speaking English in public can feel daunting at first. Or, climbing a mountain is a daunting challenge. Say it with me. Daunting. Again, daunting. Now in a sentence. Preparing for an English exam felt daunting, but I did it. Excellent. Many learners describe English grammar as daunting, but with small steps, it becomes easier. The next word is eclectic. Eclectic means something made up of many different styles, ideas, or sources. For example, she has an eclectic taste in music. Or, you should build an eclectic vocabulary by learning from books, movies, and conversations. Repeat after me. Eclectic. Again, eclectic. Now in a sentence. His bookshelf was eclectic, filled with novels, science books, and poetry. Perfect. An eclectic approach to English means you don't rely only on one method. You mix reading, speaking, listening, and even watching movies. Let's combine cynical, daunting, and eclectic in a short reflection. At first, learning new vocabulary felt daunting. Some people around me were cynical, saying it was too hard. But I chose an eclectic approach, mixing videos, books, and practice with friends, and slowly I improved. See how personal examples help you remember words longer? Now let's go further. The next advanced word is formidable. Formidable describes something or someone that inspires fear, respect, or admiration because of its size, strength, or ability. For example, the team faced a formidable opponent in the championship. Or, English may feel like a formidable challenge, but it's possible to overcome it. Say it with me. Formidable. Again, formidable. Now in a sentence, she is a formidable leader with strong skills. Great. Formidable doesn't always mean negative. It can also mean impressive in a good way. The next word is lucid. Lucid means clear and easy to understand. For example, the teacher gave a lucid explanation of grammar, or I need to make my ideas more lucid in English conversations. Say it with me. Lucid. Again, lucid. Now try it in a sentence. The instructions were lucid and easy to follow. Excellent. If you want to compliment a teacher or a speaker, saying their explanation was lucid is a very polite and advanced way. And finally, let's look at metaphor. A metaphor is a way of describing something by comparing it to something else. For example, time is a thief is a metaphor. It means time takes things away like a thief. Another example. In English, we often use metaphors in daily conversation. Say it with me. Metaphor. Again, metaphor. Now, in a sentence, the poet used a metaphor to describe love. Wonderful. Learning metaphors will also help you understand songs, movies, and everyday English expressions better. Let's create a short practice paragraph with these last 3 words. Learning English is a journey. Sometimes it feels daunting and even formidable. But when teachers give lucid explanations, things become clear. Using metaphors makes English more beautiful and expressive. And with an eclectic approach, every lesson becomes exciting. Before we close part 3, let's review the new words you have learned today. Exuberant, astute, benevolent, concur, cynical, daunting, eclectic, formidable, lucid, metaphor. 10 strong words for your vocabulary bank. Here's your practice challenge. Write a short dialogue using at least 5 of these words. For example, I concur with your idea about daily practice. At first, it looked daunting, but my eclectic methods helped. My benevolent teacher always gives lucid explanations. Now, instead of feeling cynical, I feel exuberant about my progress. That's the end of part 3. You are building not only your vocabulary, but also your confidence. In the next part, we will continue with even more powerful words that you can use in daily conversations. Keep practicing, your progress is inevitable. Welcome back, my friend. You have already learned so many powerful words in the last parts. Remember, every new word you practice makes your English more expressive and more natural. Don't worry if you forget some words along the way. Forgetting is part of learning. The important thing is to keep repeating, keep connecting the words to your own life, and keep speaking them out loud. That's how they will stay in your long-term memory. Now, let's move on to the next set of advanced vocabulary words. The first word in part 4 is notorious. Notorious means being famous for something negative or bad. For example, the street is notorious for traffic jams, or he is notorious for arriving late to meetings. Say it with me, notorious. Again, notorious. Now in a sentence. That restaurant is notorious for its slow service. Great! Notorious is often used for people, places, or things with a bad reputation. The next word is plausible. Plausible means something that seems reasonable or believable. For example, it's plausible that you can reach fluency if you practice daily. Or, her explanation was plausible, but I wasn't fully convinced. Repeat after me, plausible. Again, plausible. Now in a sentence. It's plausible that the train will be delayed. Excellent. Plausible is often used when you want to say something makes sense, even if it is not 100% certain. Now let's learn scrupulous. Scrupulous describes someone who is very careful, honest, and follows rules or morals strictly. For example, the lawyer was scrupulous in her preparation. Or, be scrupulous when you check your English writing so you don't miss mistakes. Say it with me, scrupulous. Again, scrupulous. Now in a sentence, he is scrupulous about telling the truth. Wonderful. Scrupulous people are trusted because they do things with honesty and accuracy. The next advanced word is tenacious. Tenacious means being very determined and not giving up easily. For example, she is tenacious in her studies, never missing a day. Or, to learn English fluently, you must be tenacious. Repeat after me, tenacious. Again, tenacious. Now try it in a sentence. He is tenacious when it comes to solving problems. Perfect. Tenacity is a quality that every English learner needs. Even if you make mistakes, being tenacious will bring you success. Now let's look at vindicate. Vindicate means to clear someone of blame or to prove something is correct. For example, the evidence helped vindicate the innocent man, or her success vindicated her decision to study abroad. Say it with me, vindicate. Again, vindicate. Now in a sentence, the results vindicated his hard work. Excellent. This word is very useful when you want to describe proof or justification. Let's pause and put these words together in a mini practice story. She was a tenacious learner. Even though English felt difficult, her scrupulous practice habits helped her improve. People thought she wouldn't succeed, but her success vindicated her efforts. Now, it's plausible that she will reach advanced fluency soon. She is no longer notorious for giving up instead. She is admired. Great. Let's continue with more words. The next word is ambivalent. Ambivalent means having mixed feelings about something, not fully sure. For example, she felt ambivalent about moving to a new city. Or, I feel ambivalent when I think about speaking English in front of strangers. Repeat after me, ambivalent. Again, ambivalent. Now in a sentence, he was ambivalent about accepting the new job. Good. Ambivalence is normal when you are making big decisions. Now let's learn copious. Copious means a large amount, abundant. For example, she took copious notes during the lecture, or you need copious practice to master advanced English vocabulary. Say it with me, copious. Again, copious. Now in a sentence. He drank copious amounts of water after running. Excellent. Copious is often used when talking about notes, practice, or quantities. The next word is discern. Discern means to recognize, notice, or understand something clearly. For example, I could discern a hint of sadness in her voice. Or, learners must discern the difference between similar English words. Repeat after me. Discern. Again. Discern. Now, try in a sentence. It's hard to discern the details from far away. Great. Discern is a higher level word that shows careful observation or understanding. Now let's practice ephemeral. Ephemeral means something that lasts only a short time. For example, the beauty of a sunset is ephemeral. Or, motivation can be ephemeral if you don't build strong habits. Say it with me, ephemeral. Again, ephemeral. Now in a sentence. The excitement was ephemeral and soon faded away. Perfect. Ephemeral things are temporary, like a rainbow, a shooting star, or even feelings. Here is a short reflection exercise using these 4 words. Learning English requires tenacious effort. Motivation can be ephemeral, but diligent habits make it last. When you are scrupulous in practice, you can discern your progress. Sometimes you may feel ambivalent, but copious repetition will vindicate your efforts. Success is always plausible if you stay consistent. Excellent practice. Now let's continue with a few more advanced words. The next word is gregarious. Gregarious describes someone who is very sociable and enjoys being around people. For example, she is gregarious and loves to attend parties. Or, a gregarious personality can make learning English easier because you practice more with others. Say it with me, gregarious. Again, gregarious. Now in a sentence. He is gregarious and makes friends quickly. Wonderful. If you like to meet people and talk often, you are gregarious. The next word is impeccable. Impeccable means perfect, without any faults or mistakes. For example, her English pronunciation is impeccable. Or, he always dresses with impeccable style. Repeat after me. Impeccable. Again, impeccable. Now try in a sentence. She gave an impeccable presentation at work. Very good. Impeccable is a word you can use to describe skills, manners, or style. And finally, let's learn melancholy. Melancholy means a deep feeling of sadness, often without a clear reason. For example, he felt a sense of melancholy as he walked through the old town. Or, sometimes when I miss my hometown, I feel melancholy. Say it with me, melancholy. Again, melancholy. Now in a sentence. The song filled her with melancholy. Excellent. Melancholy is often used in literature, music, or poetry to describe a quiet, thoughtful sadness. Before we finish part 4, let's review today's new words. Notorious, plausible, scrupulous, tenacious, vindicate, ambivalent, copious, discern, ephemeral, gregarious, impeccable, melancholy. 12 strong words for you today. Here is your practice challenge. Write one short story using at least 6 of these words. For example, at first, I was ambivalent about joining an English course, but my tenacious teacher gave impeccable lessons. She was scrupulous in checking our work and always benevolent. Even when my motivation felt ephemeral, her feedback vindicated my decision to study. Now I take copious notes and feel less melancholy about my mistakes. That's it for part 4. In the next part, we will continue with more advanced words that will help you express yourself in ways you never imagined. Step by step, you are building a powerful vocabulary. Stay with me, the best is yet to come. Welcome back. You've already built an impressive list of advanced words. Step by step, you are transforming your English. Remember, the goal is not to memorize words quickly and then forget them. The goal is to practice, to repeat, and to make these words part of your everyday communication. Every time you use them in your sentences, you move one step closer to fluency. Let's continue with more powerful vocabulary. The first word today is obsolete. Obsolete means no longer used, out of date, or replaced by something new. For example, CD players are now almost obsolete because of digital music, or some old English expressions are obsolete today. Say it with me. Obsolete. Again, obsolete. Now in a sentence, my old phone is obsolete and cannot run new apps. Great. Remember, technologies, words, and even habits can become obsolete. The next word is altruistic. Altruistic means showing selfless concern for others, helping people without expecting anything in return. For example, her altruistic actions inspired the whole community. Or, an altruistic teacher always puts students first. Repeat after me. Altruistic. Again, altruistic. Now in a sentence. He is altruistic, always helping people in need. Wonderful. Being altruistic is a beautiful quality, and it connects with empathy we learned earlier. Now let's move to belligerent. Belligerent means hostile, aggressive, or ready to fight. For example, the man became belligerent after drinking too much. Or, avoid being belligerent in conversations. Stay calm and respectful. Say it with me. Belligerent. Again, belligerent. Now in a sentence. The belligerent crowd shouted angrily at the players. Great job. This word is often used in negative context to describe people's behavior. The next word is coherent. Coherent means logical, clear, and well organized. For example, her essay was coherent and easy to understand. Or, You must speak in a coherent way during presentations. Repeat after me. Coherent. Again, coherent. Now in a sentence. He gave a coherent explanation of the problem. Excellent. Coherent communication is very important in English. Even if your grammar is not perfect, being coherent will help people understand you. Now let's practice a short mini dialogue with these 4 words. Friend A: I think some of our old textbooks are obsolete. Friend B: Yes, but our altruistic teacher still uses them to help students who cannot buy new ones. He is very coherent when he explains things. Unlike the belligerent teacher we had last year. See? The words sound natural in real life. The next word is deliberate. Deliberate can be both an adjective and a verb. As an adjective, it means done on purpose. For example, she made a deliberate choice to study abroad. As a verb, it means to think carefully about something. For example, they deliberated for hours before making a decision. Say it with me. Deliberate. Again, deliberate. Now in a sentence. His speech was deliberate and powerful. Perfect. Use deliberate when you want to describe actions or decisions that are thoughtful and intentional. The next word is enigma. Enigma means something mysterious, difficult to understand, or puzzling. For example, the reason for his sudden disappearance is an enigma. Or learning English idioms sometimes feels like an enigma. Repeat after me. Enigma. Again. Enigma. Now in a sentence. The Mona Lisa's smile is still an enigma. Excellent. This is a very elegant word often used in books and movies. The next word is futile. Futile means pointless, useless, or having no result. For example, it was futile to argue with him. Or, skipping practice and expecting fluency is futile. Say it with me, futile. Again, futile. Now, in a sentence. I realized it was futile to stay angry. Wonderful. Remember, learning is never futile. Every step counts. Now let's combine these 3 words into a short reflection. At first, I thought learning advanced vocabulary was futile. But then I made a deliberate choice to keep practicing. Sometimes English felt like an enigma, but slowly everything became clear. The next word is hierarchy. Hierarchy means a system of levels where some people have more power or importance than others. For example, in many companies, there is a strict hierarchy of managers and workers. Or, language itself has a hierarchy from basic words to advanced expressions. Repeat after me. Hierarchy. Again. Hierarchy. Now in a sentence. The army follows a strict hierarchy. Good. In English learning, think about your personal hierarchy of goals. What is most important for you right now? The next word is juxtapose. Juxtapose means to place 2 things side by side for comparison. For example, The artist juxtaposed modern buildings with old temples in his painting. Or we can juxtapose British English and American English to see the differences. Say it with me. Juxtapose. Again, juxtapose. Now, in a sentence. The film juxtaposes love and war in a powerful way. Excellent. Juxtapose is a more academic word, often used in writing or analysis. The next word is kinetic. Kinetic relates to movement or energy of motion. For example, kinetic energy powers moving objects. Or, she has a kinetic personality, always active and lively. Repeat after me. Kinetic. Again, kinetic. Now in a sentence. The dancer's kinetic performance amazed the audience. Great job. Even though this word comes from science, you can use it creatively to describe people, art, or life. And finally, let's practice longevity. Longevity means long life or long duration. For example, the longevity of this tradition is impressive. Or, consistent practice ensures the longevity of your English skills. Say it with me. Longevity. Again, longevity. Now, in a sentence. The doctor gave advice for health and longevity. Excellent. Longevity can describe both people's lives and things that last for a long time. Before we finish part 5, let's review today's new words. Obsolete, altruistic, belligerent, coherent, deliberate, enigma, futile, hierarchy, juxtapose, kinetic, longevity. 11 advanced words today. Here's your practice challenge. Write one short paragraph using at least 5 of these words. For example, at first, my study plan was futile because it was not coherent. Later, I made a deliberate choice to change my methods. I juxtaposed old and new techniques, combining obsolete textbooks with modern videos. This enigma of learning slowly became clear, and now my English skills have longevity. That's it for part 5. You are making incredible progress. In the next part, we will explore even more advanced words that will expand your vocabulary and make your English sound more natural and intelligent. Stay tenacious, your success is inevitable. Welcome back again. You have been learning so many powerful words. Step by step, you're building not only your vocabulary, but also your confidence. Remember, every time you repeat, every time you practice, your English muscles grow stronger. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on progress. Let's continue with the next set of advanced vocabulary words. The first word today is metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means a complete change or transformation. For example, the caterpillar undergoes a metamorphosis and becomes a butterfly. Or, learning English can feel like a metamorphosis. You slowly transform into a more confident version of yourself. Say it with me, metamorphosis. Again, metamorphosis. Now, in a sentence, Her career went through a complete metamorphosis after she learned English. Excellent. This is a powerful word you can use to describe big changes in life, work, or learning. The next word is novice. Novice means a beginner, someone who is new to an activity. For example, when I started learning English, I was a novice. Or, the driving class is designed for novices. Repeat after me, novice. Again, novice. Now in a sentence. He is a novice in playing the guitar. Great. Don't be afraid of being a novice. Everyone begins as a novice before becoming proficient. Now let's practice overt. Overt means something that is clear, open, and obvious, not hidden. For example, he showed overt support for the new project. Or, some people show overt excitement when they learn a new skill. Say it with me. Overt. Again, overt. Now in a sentence. Her overt kindness impressed everyone. Good job. Overt is often used to describe actions, attitudes, or feelings that are clearly visible. The next advanced word is pragmatic. Pragmatic means dealing with things in a realistic, practical way, not just in theory. For example, she took a pragmatic approach to solving the problem. Or, a pragmatic learner focuses on using English in real life, not just memorizing grammar rules. Repeat after me. Pragmatic. Again, pragmatic. Now, in a sentence. I try to be pragmatic when planning my study schedule. Excellent. Pragmatic people find real effective solutions. Now let's move on to quintessential. Quintessential means the most perfect or typical example of something. For example, pizza is the quintessential Italian food. Or, she is the quintessential English teacher, kind, patient, and inspiring. Say it with me, quintessential. Again, quintessential. Now in a sentence. Shakespeare is the quintessential English writer. Perfect. This is a beautiful word to highlight something that represents the best example. The next word is resonate. Resonate means to produce an emotional effect, to connect deeply, or to echo. For example, her speech resonated with the audience. Or, this English song resonates with me because I understand the lyrics now. Repeat after me. Resonate. Again, resonate. Now, in a sentence. The story resonated with many people. Wonderful. When something resonates, it stays in your heart and mind. Let's pause and put some of these words together. When I was a novice learner, I looked for pragmatic strategies. I wanted to avoid overt mistakes, so I practiced every day. Slowly, a metamorphosis happened in my confidence. One teacher gave a quintessential lesson that resonated with me for years. Great practice. Now let's continue with more advanced words. The next word is subtle. Subtle means not obvious, delicate, or difficult to notice. For example, there was a subtle change in his voice. Or, The difference between say and tell is subtle but important. Say it with me. Subtle. Again, subtle. Now in a sentence. She wore a subtle smile. Excellent. Pay attention to subtle details in English. They make you sound more natural. The next word is tangible. Tangible means something real and touchable, or something you can clearly see and measure. For example, the company showed tangible results after 6 months. Or, when you practice English daily, you will notice tangible improvements in your speaking. Repeat after me. Tangible. Again, tangible. Now in a sentence. Hard work produces tangible outcomes. Great. Tangible is often used to describe progress, evidence, or physical objects. Now let's learn ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means being everywhere, very common or widespread. For example, smartphones are ubiquitous in today's society, or English words are ubiquitous on the internet. Say it with me. Ubiquitous. Again, ubiquitous. Now in a sentence. Coffee shops are ubiquitous in big cities. Perfect. Ubiquitous is a very advanced word that makes your English sound academic and intelligent. The next word is vulnerable. Vulnerable means weak, unprotected, or easily hurt. For example, children are vulnerable to cold weather. Or, I felt vulnerable when I spoke English in front of many people. Repeat after me. Vulnerable. Again, vulnerable. Now in a sentence. The small village was vulnerable to flooding. Excellent. Vulnerable can be used to describe both physical and emotional situations. And finally, for part 6, let's learn yearn. Yearn means to have a strong desire or longing for something. For example, I yearn for a holiday after working so hard. Or, many learners yearn to speak English fluently. Say it with me. Yearn. Again, yearn. Now in a sentence. She yearned to travel the world. Great job. Yearning shows deep emotional desire. Now let's practice using these words in a short paragraph. As a novice, I yearned to become fluent. I was vulnerable to mistakes, but I stayed pragmatic. Slowly, a metamorphosis happened. My subtle progress became tangible, and soon, English words felt ubiquitous in my life. One quintessential lesson resonated with me and gave me hope. Before we close part 6, let's review today's vocabulary. Metamorphosis, novice, overt, pragmatic, quintessential, raisonnate, subtle, tangible, ubiquitous, vulnerable, yearn. 11 strong words today. Here's your practice challenge. Write a short story using at least 6 of these words. For example, I was a novice when I began learning English. I yearned to improve, but I felt vulnerable when speaking. Then I found pragmatic ways to practice. Slowly, a metamorphosis happened. Subtle changes turned into tangible results. Now English feels ubiquitous in my life, and my teacher's quintessential lesson still resonates with me. That's the end of part 6. Keep practicing. Your journey is not ephemeral. It has longevity. And with every word you master, your transformation continues. In the next part, we will discover even more exciting vocabulary to make your English richer and more powerful. Welcome back. You are doing an incredible job by staying consistent. At this point, you've already learned dozens of advanced words. But remember, words are only powerful if you use them. Don't just listen or write them down. Speak them out loud, use them in your daily life, and create your own examples. That's how vocabulary becomes part of you. Let's move on to more exciting and useful words. The first word in part 7 is zealous. Zealous means showing great energy, passion, or enthusiasm for something. For example, he is zealous about improving his English, or the volunteers were zealous in helping the community. Say it with me, zealous. Again, zealous. Now in a sentence, she is zealous about protecting the environment. Great! Being zealous about learning English will push you to practice more and never give up. The next word is adversity. Adversity means difficulties, problems, or hardships in life. For example, she showed courage in the face of adversity. Or, learning English can feel like adversity at times, but overcoming it makes you stronger. Repeat after me. Adversity. Again. Adversity. Now in a sentence. He never gave up, even in times of adversity. Excellent. Adversity is a challenge, but it also creates opportunities for growth. Now let's practice benevolence. Benevolence means kindness, generosity, or goodwill. For example, the charity organization acts with benevolence toward the poor. Or, I will never forget the benevolence of my teacher who encouraged me to keep learning English. Say it with me, benevolence. Again, benevolence. Now in a sentence, her benevolence touched everyone in the community. Wonderful. Benevolence is very similar to kindness, but it sounds more formal and advanced. The next advanced word is conspicuous. Conspicuous means easily seen, noticeable, or attracting attention. For example, she wore a conspicuous red dress at the party. Or, mistakes are conspicuous if you don't practice regularly. Repeat after me. Conspicuous. Again, conspicuous. Now in a sentence. His absence was conspicuous at the meeting. Excellent. Use conspicuous when you want to say something clearly stands out. Now let's move on to dormant. Dormant means inactive for a period of time, but capable of becoming active again. For example, the volcano has been dormant for years. Or, your English skills may feel dormant if you don't practice, but they can wake up with effort. Say it with me, dormant. Again, dormant. Now in a sentence. His talent was dormant until he found the right teacher. Perfect. Dormant reminds us that skills can sleep, but they never disappear completely. The next word is eradicate. Eradicate means to completely remove or destroy something. For example, the campaign aims to eradicate poverty. Or, practice helps eradicate bad habits in pronunciation. Say it with me. Eradicate. Again, eradicate. Now in a sentence. We must work together to eradicate discrimination. Wonderful. This is a strong and powerful word, often used for serious problems. Let's pause and combine some words. Her zealous attitude helped her overcome adversity. She showed benevolence to classmates, even when mistakes were conspicuous. At first, her confidence was dormant, but practice eradicated her fear of speaking English. Now let's continue with more words. The next word is fathom. Fathom means to understand something deeply, often something difficult. For example, I can't fathom why he made that choice. Or, it's hard to fathom how quickly children learn languages. Say it with me, fathom. Again, fathom. Now in a sentence. She couldn't fathom the complexity of the problem. Excellent. Fathom is perfect when you want to show that something is difficult to fully understand. The next word is galvanize. Galvanize means to inspire or shock someone into taking action. For example, the speech galvanized the audience into helping. Or, the teacher's encouragement galvanized me to study harder. Repeat after me. Galvanize. Again, galvanize. Now in a sentence. The leader's words galvanized the workers. Great. Galvanize is powerful because it's not just about motivating, it's about moving people into action. Now, let's practice hypothetical. Hypothetical describes something imagined, not real, but possible. For example, let's discuss a hypothetical situation. What if you had to speak English at the airport? Or, her question was purely hypothetical. Say it with me, hypothetical. Again, hypothetical. Now in a sentence. He gave a hypothetical example during the lecture. Excellent. Hypothetical is very useful for practicing English with what-if situations. The next word is inept. Inept means lacking skill, clumsy, or not competent. For example, he was inept at cooking, but he tried anyway. Or, at first, I felt inept at speaking English, but daily practice helped me improve. Repeat after me. Inept. Again, inept. Now in a sentence. The plan failed because of inept management. Great job. Remember, everyone feels inept at first, but practice turns inept into proficient. Finally, for part 7, let's learn jubilant. Jubilant means extremely happy, joyful, and celebrating. For example, the team was jubilant after winning the match. Or, I felt jubilant when I finally understood an English movie without subtitles. Say it with me, jubilant. Again, jubilant. Now in a sentence. The students were jubilant when they passed the exam. Wonderful. Jubilant is a strong, positive word that adds energy to your speech. Let's wrap up part 7 with a short reflection paragraph. At first, I was inept at speaking English. My skills were dormant and mistakes were conspicuous. But then, a zealous teacher galvanized me. Even in times of adversity, her benevolence helped me persevere. Slowly, I began to fathom difficult lessons. When I passed my first English exam, I felt jubilant. It was a moment I will never forget. Before we close, let's review today's vocabulary. Zealous, adversity, benevolence, conspicuous, dormant, eradicate, fathom, galvanize, hypothetical, inept, jubilant. 11 new words for your vocabulary list. Here's your practice challenge. Write one short story or dialogue using at least 6 of these words. For example, I faced adversity when I started English classes. My mistakes were conspicuous and I felt inept, but my zealous teacher galvanized me to practice more. Over time, I began to fathom complex grammar. My fear was eradicated, and when I finally spoke fluently, I felt jubilant. That's it for part 7. You're making amazing progress. In the next part, we'll continue with even more powerful vocabulary that will help you express yourself with clarity and confidence. Keep going, you are unstoppable. Welcome back, my friend. You've already traveled so far in this journey. Think about it. From part 1 to now, you've collected a treasure chest of advanced vocabulary. But remember, vocabulary is like money in the bank. You must use it to feel its real value. The more you spend it in conversations, the richer you become in fluency. Let's dive into today's new words. The first word is keen. Keen means very eager, interested, or having sharp ability. For example, she is keen to improve her English. Or, he has a keen eye for detail. Say it with me. Keen. Again, keen. Now in a sentence, I am keen to practice speaking with native speakers. Great. Being keen is a good quality because it shows strong interest and motivation. The next word is lucrative. Lucrative means producing a lot of profit or financial reward. For example, he found a lucrative job in technology. Or, speaking English fluently can open up lucrative opportunities. Repeat after me. Lucrative. Again, lucrative. Now in a sentence. Teaching online became a lucrative business during the pandemic. Excellent! Lucrative is often used in business, but you can also use it to describe opportunities in life. Now let's learn meticulous again in a deeper way. We studied this word earlier, but let's expand. Meticulous means very careful, paying attention to every detail. For example, she is meticulous in checking her grammar. Or, a meticulous learner reviews every new word until it is perfect. Say it with me. Meticulous. Again, meticulous. Now in a sentence. He is meticulous about his pronunciation. Perfect. Revisiting words helps them become part of your long-term vocabulary. The next advanced word is nonchalant. Nonchalant means calm and relaxed, showing little worry or excitement. For example, he gave a nonchalant smile before the exam, or she remained nonchalant even under pressure. Say it with me. Nonchalant. Again, nonchalant. Now, in a sentence, he acted nonchalant, but he was actually nervous. Good job. Nonchalant is often used to describe people who hide their feelings and act cool. Now, let's practice optimistic. Optimistic means hopeful and confident about the future. For example, she is optimistic about passing the English exam. Or, I try to stay optimistic even when learning feels hard. Repeat after me. Optimistic. Again, optimistic. Now in a sentence, he remained optimistic despite the challenges. Wonderful. Being optimistic is one of the best mindsets for learning English. Let's pause and combine these words in a mini dialogue. Friend A: I am keen to join a new English course. It looks very lucrative for my career. Friend B: Yes, but remember to be meticulous with your practice. Stay optimistic and don't just act nonchalant if you really want to succeed. Perfect. Now let's continue. The next word is paradox. Paradox means a statement that seems contradictory but may still be true. For example, it's a paradox that the more you fear mistakes, the more mistakes you make. Or, silence can sometimes be the loudest answer, a paradox of communication. Say it with me. Paradox. Again, paradox. Now in a sentence. The paradox of learning is that failure leads to success. Excellent. English has many paradoxes, especially in grammar and pronunciation. The next word is quench. Quench means to satisfy thirst or desire. For example, a glass of water quenched my thirst. Or, reading English novels quenches my curiosity. Say it with me. Quench. Again, quench. Now in a sentence. The movie quenched my desire for adventure. Good. Quench is often used with thirst, but you can also use it metaphorically for knowledge or curiosity. Now let's move on to resilient again, but with deeper practice. Resilient means able to recover quickly from difficulties. For example, she is resilient after every failure. Or, English learners must be resilient because progress is not always easy. Say it with me. Resilient. Again, resilient. Now, in a sentence. He is resilient in facing challenges. Excellent. Revisiting words helps you master them completely. The next advanced word is scrutinize again, but let's use it differently. Scrutinize means to examine carefully. For example, the teacher scrutinized every detail of my essay. Or, I scrutinize my speaking to improve pronunciation. Repeat after me. Scrutinize. Again, scrutinize. Now, in a sentence, The scientists scrutinized the data for errors. Great. Scrutinize is especially useful in academic or professional settings. And finally, for part 8, let's learn tranquil. Tranquil means peaceful, calm, and quiet. For example, the park was tranquil in the early morning, or studying in a tranquil environment helps me concentrate. Say it with me, tranquil. Again, tranquil. Now in a sentence. She enjoys a tranquil evening at home. Wonderful. Tranquil is the opposite of stress and chaos. Let's wrap part 8 with a short reflection paragraph. At first, I was not optimistic about my English, but then I became keen to improve. I scrutinized my mistakes carefully and practiced with meticulous effort. When I felt stressed, I listened to tranquil music to stay calm. It's a paradox that mistakes, which I feared, actually quenched my hunger for growth. Now, I am resilient and even a little nonchalant about challenges. Slowly, my efforts may lead to lucrative opportunities in the future. Before we close, let's review today's vocabulary. Keen, lucrative, meticulous, review, nonchalant, optimistic, paradox, quench, resilient, review, scrutinize, review, tranquille. 10 strong words today, some new, some revisited for mastery. Here is your practice challenge. Write a short story using at least 6 of these words. For example, I was keen to find a lucrative job, so I studied English with meticulous care. At first, I wasn't optimistic, but I became resilient over time. When I faced stress, I searched for tranquil places to study. The paradox was clear. Mistakes quenched my thirst for learning, and soon I could act nonchalant about speaking in public. That's it for part 8. Step by step, your vocabulary is becoming powerful and flexible. In the next part, we'll continue with even more advanced words that will make your English sound professional and natural. Welcome back again. You are now very close to the finish line of this journey. By now, you've built a vocabulary list that is not only long, but also rich with meaning and practical use. Remember, fluency is not about knowing thousands of words. Fluency is about knowing the right words, practicing them, and using them naturally in conversation. That is what we are doing here together. Let's continue with today's new set of powerful vocabulary words. The first word is versatile. Review. We learned this before, but let's practice deeper. Versatile means able to do many different things or adapt easily. For example, English is a versatile language. You can use it in travel, business, and entertainment. Or, she is a versatile worker who can handle many tasks. Say it with me. Versatile. Again, versatile. Now in a sentence. He is versatile, able to play several instruments. Perfect. The more versatile you are in English, the more confident you will feel in every situation. The next word is wholesome. Wholesome means healthy, good for you, or morally positive. For example, fresh fruit is wholesome food, or watching wholesome movies can improve your mood. Repeat after me. Wholesome. Again, wholesome. Now in a sentence. The teacher encouraged wholesome discussions in class. Excellent. Wholesome is a positive word you can use for food, activities, or even relationships. Now let's practice zeal. Zeal means great energy, passion, or enthusiasm for a cause or activity. For example, she studied English with zeal, or the volunteers worked with zeal to help the community. Say it with me. Zeal. Again. Zeal. Now in a sentence. He pursued his goals with zeal. Wonderful. Zeal is similar to passion, but often used in a more formal or serious context. The next advanced word is arduous. Arduous means very difficult, requiring great effort. For example, climbing a mountain is an arduous task. Or, learning hundreds of new words may feel arduous, but it's possible with practice. Repeat after me. Arduous. Again, arduous. Now in a sentence. The journey was arduous but rewarding. Excellent. Use arduous when you want to describe challenges that are tough but worth the effort. Now let's move on to brevity. Brevity means using only a few words, being concise and short. For example, the speech was praised for its brevity. Or, in English emails, brevity is important. Say it with me. Brevity. Again, brevity. Now in a sentence. I admire the brevity of his explanation. Great. Brevity is the opposite of long, complicated sentences. The next word is catalyst. Catalyst means something or someone that causes change or speeds up a process. For example, her teacher was the catalyst for her love of English. Or, technology is a catalyst for communication. Repeat after me. Catalyst. Again, catalyst. Now in a sentence, the new coach was a catalyst for the team's success. Excellent. Think about what catalyst helped you start learning English. Maybe a song, a movie, or a dream job. Now let's pause and make a short paragraph using these words. At first, learning English felt arduous, but with zeal, I pushed through. My versatile teacher used many methods, from movies to games. She valued brevity in explanations, which made lessons clear. The wholesome environment motivated us, and she became the catalyst for my success. Let's continue. The next word is deteriorate. Deteriorate means to get worse over time. For example, his health deteriorated after the accident. Or, without practice, your English skills may deteriorate. Say it with me. Deteriorate. Again, deteriorate. Now in a sentence. The old building is deteriorating quickly. Perfect. This is an important word to describe decline or loss. The next word is exemplify. Exemplify means to be a good example of something. For example, She exemplifies hard work and determination. Or, this story exemplifies the importance of practice. Repeat after me. Exemplifu. Again, exemplifu. Now in a sentence. He exemplifies true leadership. Excellent. Exemplify is a very strong word to describe role models or good examples. Now let's practice frivolous. Frivolous means silly, unimportant, or not serious. For example, they spent money on frivolous things instead of saving. Or, don't waste time on frivolous arguments. Say it with me. Frivolous. Again, frivolous. Now in a sentence. He was criticized for his frivolous spending. Great. This word is often used negatively to show something has little value. The next word is gratify. Gratify means to please or satisfy. For example, it gratified me to see my students succeed. Or, his hard work gratified his parents. Repeat after me. Gratify. Again. Gratify. Now, in a sentence, it gratified her to receive praise for her efforts. Wonderful. Gratify is a nice alternative to make happy or satisfy. And finally, for part 9, let's learn harsh. Harsh means severe, rough, or unpleasant. For example, the teacher gave harsh criticism, or the desert has a harsh climate. Say it with me. Harsh. Again, harsh. Now in a sentence. His words were harsh but honest. Excellent. Harsh is often used to describe both environments and people's words or actions. Let's wrap up part 9 with a reflection paragraph. Sometimes the road to fluency is arduous and mistakes can feel harsh, but brevity in explanations helps me learn faster. A catalyst, like a good teacher, can exemplify the right habits. When I show zeal and avoid frivolous distractions, my progress gratifies me. Without practice, my skills would deteriorate, but with effort, I stay versatile and optimistic. That's the wholesome truth of learning English. Before we close, let's review today's vocabulary. Versatile, review. Wholesome, zeal. Arduous, brevity. Catalyst, deteriorate. Exemplify, frivolous. Gratify, harsh. 11 more words for your vocabulary collection. Here's your practice challenge. Write a short dialogue using at least 6 of these words. For example, student. Sometimes English feels arduous and I worry my skills will deteriorate. Teacher. Don't worry. A little zeal can change everything. I'll exemplify how to practice with brevity and focus. Avoid frivolous distractions, and soon your progress will gratify you. That's the end of part 9. You are almost at the finish line. In the final part, we will conclude this journey with even more powerful words and encouragement to help you keep growing as an English learner. Stay with me. Part 10 will be your grand finale. Welcome back, my friend. We have finally arrived at the last part of this series. You have done an amazing job step by step building a strong vocabulary and practicing how to use it in real sentences. Remember, learning English is not a destination, it is a journey. And every word you've learned here is like a stepping stone on your path toward fluency. Let's finish strong with today's final set of advanced vocabulary words. The first word is humble. Humble means modest, not proud, and respectful. For example, she stayed humble even after winning the award. Or, being humble helps you learn from others. Say it with me, humble. Again, humble. Now in a sentence. He is humble about his success. Great. Humble learners grow faster because they listen, accept feedback, and keep improving. The next word is indispensable. Indispensable means absolutely necessary, something you cannot live without. For example, a good dictionary is indispensable for English learners. Or, water is indispensable for life. Repeat after me. Indispensable. Again, indispensable. Now in a sentence. Practice is indispensable if you want fluency. Excellent. Think about what is indispensable in your own learning routine. Now let's practice jargon. Jargon means special words used by a particular group, often difficult for outsiders to understand. For example, medical jargon can be confusing for patients. Or, avoid using too much jargon when speaking English with beginners. Say it with me, jargon. Again, jargon. Now, in a sentence. The lawyer explained the legal jargon to her clients. Great. Jargon can be useful in professional settings, but sometimes it makes communication harder. The next word is lucrative. Review. We studied this before, but let's repeat. Lucrative means bringing in a lot of profit or reward. For example, English fluency can lead to lucrative job opportunities. Or, online businesses can be very lucrative today. Say it with me, lucrative. Again, lucrative. Now in a sentence. She found a lucrative opportunity abroad. Excellent. Review is key to mastery. The next word is mundane. Mundane means ordinary, boring, or not special. For example, he wanted to escape his mundane routine. Or, learning English turns mundane activities, like reading signs or menus, into exciting opportunities. Repeat after me. Mundane. Again, mundane. Now in a sentence. She found beauty in mundane daily life. Perfect. Even mundane tasks can be opportunities to practice English. Now let's pause for a mini dialogue using these words. Friend A. Sometimes my daily study feels mundane. Friend B. Yes, but practice is indispensable. Avoid too much jargon, stay humble, and one day you will find lucrative opportunities. Good job. Let's continue. The next word is nurture. Nurture means to care for, support, and help something grow. For example, parents nurture their children with love and guidance. Or, you must nurture your English skills with daily practice. Say it with me. Nurture. Again, nurture. Now in a sentence. The teacher nurtured her students' talents. Wonderful. Think of English learning as a plant. You need to nurture it every day with water, sunlight, and care. The next word is obsolete. Review. We learned this earlier, but let's strengthen it. Obsolete means no longer useful or in use. For example, floppy disks are obsolete today. Or, some old grammar rules are almost obsolete in modern English. Say it with me. Obsolete. Again, obsolete. Now in a sentence. Her old computer is obsolete. Great. Some things in life become obsolete, but knowledge and practice never do. Now let's practice profound. Profound means very deep, meaningful, or significant. For example, she shared a profound idea about education. Or, learning English has a profound effect on your life opportunities. Say it with me. Profound. Again, profound. Now in a sentence. The book had a profound impact on me. Excellent. Profound is a very powerful word when describing experiences or thoughts. The next word is reluctant. Review. We practiced this before, but it's worth repeating. Reluctant means not wanting to do something. Hesitant. For example, he was reluctant to speak in class. Or, don't be reluctant to make mistakes in English. They are part of learning. Say it with me. Reluctant. Again, reluctant. Now, in a sentence, she felt reluctant to join the competition. Good. Recognize your reluctance, but don't let it stop you. And finally, the last word in this series is serendipity. Serendipity means the unexpected discovery of something good by chance. For example, finding a new English friend online was pure serendipity. Or, sometimes serendipity brings you opportunities you never expected. Say it with me. Serendipity. Again, serendipity. Now, in a sentence, their meeting was a moment of serendipity. Beautiful. Serendipity is a joyful word to end this journey with. Let's wrap part 10 with a reflection. I started this journey humble and sometimes reluctant, but I nurtured my skills every day. Practice became indispensable, even in mundane moments, like reading menus or chatting online. I found opportunities. Learning English has had a profound impact on my life. Some old fears are now obsolete. And sometimes serendipity brings me new chances to practice. One day, these efforts will lead to lucrative results. Before we close, let's review today's vocabulary. Humble, indispensable, jargon. Lucrative, review. Mundane, nurture, obsolete. Review, profound, reluctant, review, serendipity. 10 final words to complete your powerful vocabulary collection. Here's your last practice challenge. Write a short paragraph about your English journey using at least 5 of these words. For example, At first, I was reluctant to practice speaking, but I nurtured my skills every day. English became indispensable in my life. Even mundane activities turned into practice opportunities. Then, through serendipity, I met new friends who helped me grow. This journey has been profound, and I will stay humble as I continue learning. Congratulations, you have reached the end of this 10-part journey. You've learned over 100 advanced words, practiced them in sentences, and connected them to your daily life. Remember, vocabulary is like a garden. If you nurture it every day, it will grow and bring you beauty for a lifetime. Keep practicing, keep speaking, stay resilient, stay optimistic, and never give up. Your progress is not only possible, it's inevitable. That's the end of part 10, but it's not the end of your learning. It's just the beginning of a lifelong adventure with English.